The world rewards clarity, not kindness. While you've been trying to be good, silent predators have been positioning themselves for power. You were told to be soft, but softness has only earned you invisibility. If you've ever felt like you're fading in a world built for wolves, this is your call to evolve. This isn't self-help, it's war. And war requires strategy, not sentiment. From now on, you don't react, you calculate. You don't overshare, you observe. And most of all, you don't chase approval. You command respect through presence alone. Machiavelli didn't teach men to survive. He taught them to win without being seen coming. In this video, you'll learn how to rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist with discipline, silence, and control. Not for applause, but for quiet domination. Subscribe now. What you're about to hear isn't for the weak. It's for those who are done playing small.
Delete the man they programmed you to be. You weren't born weak. You were programmed to be. From childhood, you were fed scripts. Be nice, be quiet, be liked. But those scripts weren't written for power. They were designed to keep you predictable. Society molds you into something convenient, not something respected. And by following the rules, you unknowingly gave away your leverage. If you want true influence, the first step is brutal. Kill the version of yourself that was built to be accepted. That identity, the people pleaser, the over-explainer, the approval seeker, it's a product of fear. And fear, left unchecked, makes you compliant. But nothing about power is born in compliance. You don't negotiate your freedom. You take it back strategically. Think of yourself as an operating system infected with emotional malware. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you confirm the virus is still active. Deleting that program means setting boundaries without guilt, ignoring opinions without apology, and walking away without explaining. The world will resist this change. Good, let it. That's how you know it's working. Want a starting point? Audit your daily behavior. Where do you shrink your presence? Who do you tolerate just to avoid conflict? Start cutting. Replace one weak habit with a strong one. Instead of checking your phone first thing in the morning, review your mission for the day. Instead of small talk, speak with purpose. Strategic men don't waste energy on noise. You'll lose people, that's part of the process. The man you were trained to be had weak connections and shallow alliances. When you shed that skin, you'll scare the ones who benefited from your passivity. Let them be uncomfortable. That discomfort is the cost of your growth. Evolution isn't polite, it's confrontational. As you eliminate that old version, understand this: no one's coming to rescue you. No mentor, no lover, no friend. Your rebirth is your responsibility. And that's not something to fear. That's where your power begins. The moment you stop seeking permission, you start building authority. Because once you eliminate the man they built, you create space for the strategist to emerge. And that strategist, he doesn't ask for directions. He maps the battlefield. And soon, that battlefield will test your ability to stay in control, even when everything around you tries to pull you back. Strategic self-control. Power begins where reaction ends. Powerful men don't flinch. They don't justify, overreact, or beg to be understood. They pause. They observe. And when they strike, it's never emotional. It's surgical. You've been taught to express yourself, but no one told you that expression without control is a weapon turned inward.
Mastery begins with the discipline to sit with your fire and not let it burn the wrong thing. Every time you react without thinking, you hand the advantage to someone else. Whether it's anger, jealousy, fear, or pride, the man who can't contain himself is easy to manipulate. Emotions aren't evil, but they're tools, not leaders. If your emotions drive you, you'll crash. But if you harness them, you'll dominate. Think of it like this: your reactions are like currency. Spend them on nonsense and you'll be broke when it matters. But if you save them for the right moment, for silence, for strategy, for precision, they become power, and people start to feel your presence without needing to hear your opinion. Here's a practical shift. Next time someone tries to provoke you, say nothing. Let the discomfort build. Most people expose themselves in silence. They reveal their insecurities, their hidden motives, their desperation, and all you did was remain calm. That pause, that's psychological warfare at its finest. Machiavelli would have told you, never let the enemy know what you're feeling. If they can read you, they can rule you. This is why self-control is not passivity, it's dominance in disguise. The man who doesn't flinch is the man they fear, not because he's aggressive, but because he's unpredictable. This kind of control isn't built overnight. You train it with breath, with discipline, with relentless self-observation. Replace outbursts with strategy. Replace defensiveness with stillness. Replace the need to win every moment with the desire to win the whole game. That's what separates rulers from reactors. And once your reactions are under your control, your presence becomes a weapon. Because the less you say, the more others reveal. And soon, you'll notice a new challenge: how to use that calm to expose the weakness of others without letting them know they've already lost.
Weaponize your darkness. Power lies in what you hide. The parts of you that you've buried, the rage, the coldness, the hunger to dominate, weren't mistakes. They were signals. You were taught to suppress them because they made others uncomfortable. But comfort is not the currency of power. The darkness inside you isn't a defect. It's raw energy, waiting to be aimed. Weak men run from their shadow. Strong men shape it. Your anger can build discipline. Your pain can sharpen focus. Your shame can become clarity, but only if you stop pretending to be harmless. Harmless men are used. Dangerous men, when trained, are respected. Here's the truth. Pretending to be all light will break you. You weren't built to be pure. You were built to be whole. And wholeness includes the parts of you that frighten others. If you want to be unshakable, you must make peace with your inner beast, not to unleash it recklessly, but to commend it with precision. Try this. Next time you feel that dark surge, frustration, vengeance, ruthless ambition, don't suppress it. Sit with it. Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Then turn it into fuel. Use it to train harder, to plan longer, to say no more often. A strategist doesn't fear intensity. He shapes it into leverage. Think of your darkness as a sword. Untrained, it cuts everything around you, including yourself. But when refined, it becomes a blade you draw only when necessary. That's presence. That's intimidation without saying a word. It's not violence, it's command. A man who's made peace with his shadow walks differently.
Machiavelli understood this deeply. A leader who hasn't explored his dark side is incomplete and easily overthrown. But the one who has becomes unreadable. He doesn't explode, he executes. And in a world full of emotionally fragile men, the one who channels his darkness calmly becomes a force. So the next time someone tells you to lighten up, smile, but keep sharpening. Because when the storm comes, it's not the pure who lead, it's the prepared. And the next battlefield will demand not just your light, but the strength of the shadow you finally learn to control.
The cold eye. Learn to see like a strategist. Most people walk through life blind, not because they can't see, but because they don't know what to look for. They hear words, but miss intention. They see smiles, but miss hesitation. A strategist sees differently. He studies pauses, tone shifts, micro-reactions. He doesn't assume, he deciphers. You don't need superpowers, you need pattern recognition. Watch how someone changes their tone when you say no. See how their eyes shift when truth enters the room. That twitch in their jaw? That delay in their response? These are signals, and once you learn the language, people become transparent. Imagine entering a room and saying nothing, just observing. Within 5 minutes, you'll know who's insecure, who's pretending to lead, and who's secretly watching you. Most men speak to be seen, but the man who watches in silence becomes the most dangerous presence in the room. Try this in practice. Next time you're in a group, let others speak first. Let them fill the space. People reveal more than they realize, especially when they're trying to impress. Your job is to stay still, take mental notes, and ask one precise question that makes the room go quiet. That's control. Machiavelli taught that appearances are masks, and most people wear them poorly. The man who sees through facades doesn't need to confront. He simply adapts. If someone flatters too much, be cautious. If someone avoids eye contact during tension, they're hiding something. Observation saves you from betrayal before it starts. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. In a world of actors, you can't afford to be naive. Your safety, your influence, your future, all depend on how clearly you read people. While others chase charisma, you master clarity. And clarity gives you power over those still lost in emotional fog. Once you begin seeing this way, everything changes. The game slows down, motives become obvious, weaknesses scream for attention, and soon you'll no longer worry about being understood. You'll focus on what's being hidden. Because the man who sees through everything is the one who can't be deceived.
Masscraft. Control how you're perceived. You were told to just be yourself, but in a world of strategy, that's a trap. Authenticity is powerful, but only when it's intentional. The truth is, those who rise the highest wear masks, not to deceive, but to direct. A strategist becomes what the moment requires without ever losing the core beneath. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must be both lion and fox, fierce and cunning. But he also warned, never show both at once. That's why mastering perception is power. When people think they understand you, they stop being cautious. But if they can't read you, they hesitate, and in hesitation, you win. Wearing a mask doesn't make you fake,
It makes you protected. You don't share your entire soul with strangers. You reveal just enough to guide the narrative. Be warm in public, but calculating in silence. Let your smile comfort. Let your silence unsettle. Your mask isn't hiding you. It's shielding your advantage. Try this. Create 3 core masks. One for conflict, calm, firm, unreadable. One for negotiation, agreeable, observant, patient. And one for influence, charismatic, concise, controlled. Rotate them as needed, never out of fear, out of strategy, because the man who only has one face becomes predictable. People will try to shame you for not being real. Let them. That's their attempt to drag you back into transparency so they can study you. But you don't owe them full access. You owe yourself protection. A man who manages his image is not manipulative. He's prepared. Consider every space you enter a stage. Your mask is your uniform. Your posture, your silence, your tone, all of it communicates more than truth ever could. Power is perception, and the man who crafts how he's seen controls how the world reacts to him.
Ruthless boundaries make access a privilege. Every time you say yes out of guilt, you bleed power. Every time you explain yourself to someone who hasn't earned it, you shrink your authority. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates, and only the strategic decide who gets through. A man without boundaries isn't generous, he's disposable. Respect doesn't come from how much you give, it comes from how much you protect. Machiavelli understood this. Rulers who try to please everyone become weak and irrelevant. You don't owe the world access to your time, your energy, or your mind. These are currencies. Treat them like treasure. Start here. Say no without an explanation. Let it sit. Let people feel the weight of your silence. If they get angry, good. That means they were benefiting from your lack of self-respect. Let them walk. Let them gossip. Let them misunderstand you. That's the price of sovereignty. When you start guarding your presence, something changes. People lean in. Your time becomes rare. Your words become events. Your energy starts to feel expensive. And in that scarcity, value is born. Stop trying to be everywhere for everyone. Be unavailable. Be focused. Be sharp. Look at your calendar. Is it filled with obligations or intentions? Every appointment, every text reply, every favor. Ask yourself, does this build me or bleed me? Cut the noise. If it doesn't align with your mission, it doesn't deserve your time. Simplicity is power. You'll be labeled selfish, arrogant, even cold. Accept that. Weak people hate what they can't control, and they especially hate when someone they depended on stops being accessible. That's not your problem. You're not here to babysit feelings. You're here to build something that outlives you. Eventually, your boundaries will speak louder than your words, and those who remain in your circle, few as they are, will carry weight, not noise. Because what comes next requires fewer people, but stronger loyalty, and that only survives behind locked gates.
Build alliances, not friendships. Friendship is built on comfort. Alliance is built on clarity.
Most men surround themselves with familiar faces, not realizing those faces often mirror the same limitations. A strategist doesn't collect friends, he selects assets. If someone's presence doesn't sharpen you, they're dulling your edge. The truth is uncomfortable. Many of your relationships were born from shared weakness, not shared vision. Drinking buddies, trauma bonds, nostalgia links, none of these belong in a war room. If you want to rise, audit your circle. Ask not who likes you, but who elevates you. Allies challenge you. They confront your blind spots. They offer value when no one's watching. If someone doesn't push your thinking, question your habits, or match your ambition, they're not an ally, they're a liability. Loyalty without purpose is just sentimental noise. Try this. Make a list of everyone you spend time with. Next to each name, write the one thing they help you build: mindset, health, business, emotional control. If the list is empty, so is the relationship. Don't feel guilty. Feel clear. This is strategy, not cruelty. Machiavelli didn't teach rulers to be surrounded. He taught them to be supported. He knew that influence survives not through affection, but through aligned interests. You're not here to make everyone feel seen. You're here to create something that requires loyalty with conditions. Start moving like a king. Listen more. Trust slowly. Reward consistency. Build your inner circle like a fortress, strong, small, and specialized. One strategist at your side is worth 10 cheerleaders in your DMs. Choose those who want your crown protected, not your comfort preserved. Because soon you'll stop asking, "Who's around me?" and start asking, "Who can withstand the next version of me?" That's when you'll realize real power doesn't grow in crowds. It grows in counsel.
Speak only to shift energy. Silence as power. Most people speak to fill silence. The strategist speaks to command it. Machiavelli understood that words are tools, not toys. Every time you open your mouth, you're either creating influence or leaking energy. And if your presence is weak, no speech can save you. Silence is not absence. It's dominance without explanation. When you don't react, you become unpredictable. And in the realm of power, unpredictability is lethal. The man who knows how to hold silence owns the tempo of the room without ever raising his voice. There's a reason the strongest leaders speak less. They let others reveal their intentions while they observe in stillness. Strategic silence forces others to fill the void, often with truth, weakness, or desperation. Influence begins when you master restraint. Want to build this muscle? Start small. Don't rush to explain yourself. Don't overshare when you're uncomfortable. Let the awkward moments linger. Train yourself to be unfazed by tension. That's where your authority begins to form. Silence isn't awkward, it's powerful. In meetings, interviews, even arguments, the one who controls the pauses controls the outcome. Let others chase comfort, you chase control. Think of silence as the sharpest blade in your arsenal. It's quiet, but it cuts through noise and nonsense like nothing else. You don't need to speak to be heard. In fact, sometimes your quiet withdrawal from a chaotic room says more than any speech. Silence protects your mystery. And in a world addicted to noise, mystery is magnetic. why give them all your data? And if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that silence sets the stage for something even more ruthless. Because what happens when your presence speaks louder than their words? That's when you stop playing their game and start building your own.
Legacy over dopamine. Delay pleasure for power. Modern culture trains you to chase comfort, scroll, snack, sedate. But a strategist doesn't live for the next dopamine hit. He lives for the long game. Machiavelli would say, "The man who masters his pleasures masters his kingdom." Discipline is not denial, it's design. Delayed gratification is the weapon of kings. Every time you say, "Not now," you shift from impulse to intention. Instead of burning out in short-term highs, you build systems that feed your legacy. Pleasure fades, power remains. Strategy wins. Think about your day. Where is your attention leaking? Are you addicted to quick likes, fast food, empty stimulation? You can't build empires with a sugar-rushed brain. Want a sharper mind? Real books. Lift heavy. Build routines that break dependence. Great leaders sacrifice what feels good now for what creates greatness later. They wake early, train hard, invest wisely, and walk away from things that blur their vision. It's not about suffering. It's about choosing meaning over momentary relief. Here's a challenge. Replace one pleasure with one discipline this week. Swap TikTok for one chapter of The Prince. Trade late-night scrolling for deep rest. Watch how fast your mind clears and your influence sharpens. It's not about being extreme. It's about being intentional. Every time you delay pleasure, you store energy for something higher. That's how respect is built, not through showy success, but through silent, invisible choices that compound over time. That's how power quietly grows, under pressure, not performance. And when you live like that, built not for applause, but for endurance, you become dangerous. Because your fuel isn't praise, it's purpose. And what comes next? Well, that's the part they never see coming.
The game never ends. Power must be maintained daily. The fatal mistake? Believing you've arrived, that you've achieved something, so now you can relax. Machiavelli would have laughed at that illusion. Power isn't a trophy, it's territory, and every inch must be guarded, sharpened, and reasserted daily. A real strategist wakes up knowing the war never ends, not just against external forces, but against the comfort that creeps in when we stop evolving. The enemy of progress is the illusion of completion. You're not done, you're just exposed, now more than ever. Power is never inherited, it's renewed. Respect, authority, dominance, they fade if you don't maintain them. Every day you're either reinforcing your legacy or watching it rot from within. There is no coast mode for those who lead, only recalibration and refinement. If you lead a team, your posture must echo your philosophy. If you lead yourself, your discipline must roar louder than your cravings. Are your actions aligned with influence?
Or are you slowly becoming someone you once vowed never to be? Power demands alignment. Try this. Audit your day like a ruthless CEO. Where are you slipping? Where have you traded strategy for autopilot? Greatness isn't glamorous. It's built through invisible effort, the kind of consistency no one applauds, but everyone respects when it shows results. What you don't reinforce will collapse. Health, money, presence, respect, none of it sustains itself. It demands authority, boundaries, and relentless self-leadership. You must defend your castle, not from the enemy, but from your own excuses. And here's where everything you've learned clicks into place. Without daily vigilance, all the previous teachings fade into forgotten motivation. But with it, you begin building a legacy that doesn't just last, it dominates. And what comes next? That's where it gets real.
You've heard the code. You've felt the shift. Now ask yourself, what part of your life have you left undefended? The version of you that tolerates weakness can't survive what's coming. And maybe that's a good thing. Rebuilding is a daily war. No more waiting for signs, no more begging for clarity. Pick one strategy from this video and apply it, quietly, ruthlessly, without applause. Power doesn't ask for permission, it moves. Still thinking about it? Good. That discomfort is your old self dying. Let it go. Comment the one truth that hit you hardest, not for me, but for the next man scrolling in silence, looking for a signal. You weren't just watching, you were unlocking something ancient, buried under obedience, softened by doubt. But now, there's no turning back. Your silence will speak for you. Subscribe if you're done playing soft. Hit the bell. This is where discipline replaces motivation, strategy replaces emotion, and where power begins in the quiet. And don't stop here. The video on your screen, that's your next weapon. Watch it now. Let it cut deeper. Because you don't just rebuild, you reprogram, you rise, you dominate deliberately.